All right, welcome back. Full disclosure, nothing new here to show if you're a regular follower, but in an effort to give my channel somewhat of a pulse, I thought I'd throw together this topic of, I guess, the best centered cards I have in my collection that I could tell, and maybe I missed the mark on a couple of these. You could let me know. Um, but I pulled these from my cases, about 20 or so cards here. I figured I would just go ahead and throw these up. It's a good excuse to look at some cards maybe you haven't looked at in a while. Like this 67 Topps Jim Palmer, PSA 7.5. And as far as I can tell, it looks like it's 50-50 to me. And I went as recent as the mid-'80s. So, I mean, technically, I guess we don't call that vintage, but these cards are nearly 40 years old now. In particular, this 85 Donruss, Don Mattingly, one of my favorite cards as a kid. Had a raw copy, kept it in a plastic sheet. Of course, the black borders got all dinged up and turned white. So I ended up buying this 10 later in life. And I believe it was because the rookie 10 was several $1,000s at the time, and this was like a couple $100 or something. But I just liked the card anyway, so I wanted it regardless. And there's the 85 Donruss. Now this one is a recent card. I'm not sure, maybe last time or 2 times ago I showed this Ty Cobb, which has really nice centering without a doubt. This polar bear, bat off shoulder. And it's a card that you'll may see again if I decide to roll out another, end of year video, which I've done for the last, I think, 10 years. This is I have 3 of the Cobbs, and there's one more. It's the green portrait, which I do not own. Honestly, I don't particularly care for it, but I may want to have the set of Cobbs, which might require me to go after it. Yeah, and it's not cheap. I think it might be the most expensive card of his from T206. The green portrait. Another mid-'80s card. Second year Cal Ripken. Looks 50-50 to me. Gretzky rookie. A card that I thought I would never be able to obtain in a high grade because of COVID. And so during that period of time, I ended up buying the second year O-Pee-Chee in an 8. And that card is tanked. And this card tanked, which allowed me to buy it, eventually buy it myself. So, rookie card of Wayne Gretzky. And the centering, I mean, it might be like something as trivial as like 53-47. Wait, does that add up? Yeah. Left and right. But close enough. Wayne Gretzky. Now here's a card that I'm going to resubmit for an evaluation. It's this 1961 Mickey Mantle that's a 7. And I don't really know why it's a 7. If I had to speculate, at times to me it looks like the registration might be a little bit off. The focus. But this card is super sharp. The corners, the edges are clean. It's an older grade. I don't know if that really means anything, but yeah, I think this is definitely worth a review. And geez, I would think it would get at least a half a point bump nowadays, but unless I'm missing something. I remember asking the seller at the time, this was several years ago, I said, what's wrong with this card? He's like, I think there's snow on the surface, but I don't even see the snow, so I don't know. But moving on, here's a Munson 78, really great looking set. Pretty inexpensive card to have too in a 9. I want to say you can get this for under $100. This has become one of probably the favorite cards that I own because I know how hard it is to find this with not only good centering, but also good registration. And it got the low grade because there's sort of like an indentation in the corner. So from a technical grade standpoint, it deserves the 4, I guess, but otherwise the eye appeal is off the charts in my opinion for this. And this card has come down quite a bit too. I mean, I think you could probably pick up a, like maybe a 5 or maybe even a 6 for what I think I paid. I think I paid $2,500 for this card, $2,600. But I mean, you gotta think. I think you gotta throw the technical grade out the window when it comes to this. From an eye appeal standpoint, it looks like you never know what that could potentially sell for someday. I guess I'll let someone else worry about that because I can't take it with me. Another one that I was really happy to find centered, and also a very low grade from a technical standpoint because there's a crease here. You probably see it, right? Doesn't go through to the back, but and this also ran around $2,500. I think it's been relatively stable from a price standpoint. You might be able to find 1.5s that are less, maybe under 2,000, but they're going to look like ass. This card is notoriously hard to find centered. So this being a 4, this being a 1.5, I believe maybe the 2,600 or so I pay for this, it might still be valued at that if I were to sell it today. So I don't feel like I took a hit on paper on those. Others, I definitely did. Another mid-80s. This is a favorite of mine. I just love the aesthetic. This 86 Donruss Dwight Gooden. Like that design, like the colors. And as far as I can tell, it's 50-50 to me. Here's a card that's probably trimmed, if I want to play devil's advocate. This Bowman Campanella, because the prevailing logic is, well, how the hell does a card that's 70-something years old survive in this condition without someone having done something to it, right? Well, whatever. PSA 8, 51, Bowman Campanella. And this is a nice one. This Bill Dickey, U.S. Caramel. This had the PW, yeah, it still does, sticker, as if I can't make the judgment for myself. But this is really nicely centered. People say, why the 5? I think there's like a little bit of, because of these little corners here, there's a little bit of like peeling back perhaps on the corner. So it looks like they're 4 sharp corners from the front. But when you look at the back, the paper itself is kind of rolled back ever so slightly. And that's probably why I got a 5 and not higher. And I believe this is his first mainstream card. So it could be considered a rookie card. He might have like one of those exhibit cards that came before this, but from the standpoint of a baseball card, mainstream card, I think that might be possibly considered a rookie. So here's my Ruth. And yeah, this one has, I guess, perfect centering. I was looking at this thing from all sides. Low grade, too. I think the easiest to obtain of the 4 Ruths, in my opinion, the nicest looking. Yeah, maybe a dozen years ago I bought this, and it was $1,500 at the time. And I remember, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just spent, I mean, I went from like spending maybe a couple $100 on a card up to that point, and then boom, I hit a buy it now on $1,500, and I was like, what have I just done? I'm glad I did it though. Another card you might see in a couple of months again in a video is this. I really love this. Really happy to find this card. Looking for a long time. I mean, I'm talking years to find one that's nice. And I came across a BVG slab. This was in prior. And here's the reason, which, you know what? Whatever. I'll take that. I'll make this trade-off if the front looks like this. So it seems 50-50 to me. I mean, there's sort of like angles and things going on with this. I don't know if true 50-50 exists, but I looked at it. 34 Gotti Gehrig. Card number 61. And this is the only thing wrong with the card. So I got that at a pretty good price as a result. Another mid-80s favorite, the 85 Topps Pucket. You know, I have his Tiffany in a 9. Those Tiffany cards, man, I've got a few of those from 85. They just turn yellow. Or maybe they already were yellow when I got it, but, you know, it's that coating is just conducive to discoloration. I guess if these cards are maybe exposed to light over time. But this is the paper cardboard, so it's brighter. The back is a little more, I guess it's not as crisp, but the front, I think, is definitely brighter on this one compared to the 9 that I have. Even in the absence of that glossy stuff, I just like the whiter borders. So 85 Topps Kirby Pucket. Yogi Berra, 50 Bowman. Glad I bought this when I did. Several years ago, maybe 5 or 6 at this point. I think it was like $300. 5.5 grade. Just a great looking card. And one of the better, I mean, if I really, maybe it's a touch off left and right. But now we're splitting hairs. This one I posted on Instagram, Ford rookie, which is only PSA 2, but it looks outstanding. And it's got a crease, which is why it's a 2. It's kind of hard to see. I mean, I really got to look for it, but it's definitely there. It doesn't go through to the back, as far as I can tell. And, you know, just right on the cusp of shutdown. It was like January-ish, February of 2020. And I remember paying PSA 3 money at the time for this PSA 2 because it just, the eye appeal, I just couldn't, just had to have it. At the time, I was looking for something in a higher grade. I thought it would just look better. I thought it'd be sharper, cleaner, you know, 5, 6 type of thing. I think those were like around $1,000 back then, but I ended up going with that. I'm glad I did. Now, this one is not 50-50, but in the realm of Bob Gibson rookie cards, this is probably as close as it might get. If you look left and right, it is ever so slightly off. This card is notoriously hard to find centered. And I was fortunate enough to, the first time this came available, I missed out on it. And then luckily enough, it popped up like literally 2 months later on eBay again from a different seller, but for $100 more than what I could have had it for. And I just went with it. I said, you know, I'm not going to see this card again, and I'll just pay the upcharge. It was like $725. That number just sticks out to me. I remember it was like $600 I could have had it for, and I think I missed the buy it now. And then, anyway, I'm surprised they sold it for so cheap because I feel like after you factor in the commission to eBay gets, but I guess if they're a big seller, they get, what, only 5% fees versus like 15 for the for the regular person. But anyway, Dale Murphy, rookie, 77 Topps. Multiplayer rookie, generally not very popular. I mean, they're okay. Prefer to have, you know, them on individual cards, but and as many collectors know, he has 2 of these multiplayer rookie cards, but the 77 is a rookie card. Another 77 here. Pete Rose. Looks 50-50 to me. Another Pucket. This time 85 Donruss. Great looking card. And I bought this, oh gosh. I bought it when I think it was somewhere in the $150 range. So whatever year that was. And then, let's see, I showed, oh yeah, you've seen these. This is, earlier this year, I picked up this Bart Starr, another card that's really hard to find centered, like really hard. And I guess I want to nitpick, I could say top to bottom is not quite 50-50. Left to right is. And this might be the best value or bargain I've gotten, post-COVID. It's like $1,300. This is back in January. And so you may see this one because this would qualify for the end of year recap. And this one is the most recent pickup. I just talked about this. The Maze from 57. And if you stare at it long enough, you do realize it's ever so slightly, I think maybe tilted. But this was a card that got away from me several years ago in an 8 for like $1,400. And every day I'd go to eBay and there it was. And actually it was actually higher and the price got lower and lower. And I just kind of bring myself to hit the buy it now back then. And I probably told the same story when I talked about this card in my last video. But anyway, here it is in a 7.5. And I've been looking for a nicely centered copy of this forever. And here it is. So there's that. Just a group of cards for my collection. I thought I'd just put out there that I figure have probably some of the nicest centering overall for me. And just an excuse to look at some cards, showcase some cards. And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later.